Concord is a 5v5 first-person shooter.
Ew, this is so cringe. Guilty.
So, happy Summer Games Fest, I guess? I mean, actually, I'm always excited for Summer Games Fest. This time of year, the Summer Gamer Christmas is a ton of fun, and regardless of what I might say in this video, I think it should exist. The Nintendo Direct format is incredible. It's so handy, a nice, easy-to-consume breakdown of all the upcoming games, and a big focal point during a year for everyone to hype up and watch at the same time, and it's ruining the games industry for me. Okay, that's a bit dramatic. I was thinking about this the other day, but man, I miss E3. Now, the caveat there is that a lot about E3 absolutely sucked. The ESA is terrible and their cybersecurity is laughable, but man, I would take Aisha Tyler being cringe on stage at a heartbeat over the last few years of endless, monotonous, repetitive gaming presentations. While a number of factors contributed to E3's demise, I think to me the most clear is that Nintendo Directs and their clones and similar presentation style curb stomped the views E3 was getting, and in-person attendance was not going to make up for that either. However, the delicious beauty of E3 was publishers had to go to E3. There was a much tighter schedule and everyone had to fight to make their games, their companies, get the most eyes on them, get the coveted winner of E3 public trophy, despite that meaning absolutely nothing. And it's a valiant attempt Jeff Keighley has got going on with Summer Game Fest, but it's not E3, is it? While there's been some genuinely fun stuff each year, no one is tied to Summer Game Fest. No one is having to save their stuff to showcase there. They all have their own infrastructure and their own social media setups, meaning even partners at Summer Game Fest also have their own unrelated or related direct presentations, showcases, conferences, podcasts, sometimes. Microsoft, you are super weird, bro. Meaning sometimes, like we saw recently with the State of Play and the Silent Hill transmission, you'll get the big news drop about something, and then the actual publisher of that game will just kind of have second helpings of the news. It's like, maybe I'd be more excited about the Silent Hill 2 remake release date if I didn't hear it half an hour ago and then just get some more information for half an hour here. Now, don't get me wrong, another side to this is actually really positive. Direct style presentations mean that devs and communities who might not have gotten any focus in the past in structures like E3 now get whole presentations standing shoulder to shoulder with huge devs and publishers right there on the Summer Game Fest website. Day of the Devs, wholesome direct, and women-led games among many others are all great ideas I hope continue, but Ubisoft Forward? Well, alright, I have some other beef with Ubisoft, Eve catch these hands, but like, was anyone clamoring for an Ubisoft Forward maybe 15 years ago when they were making Assassin's Creed 2 and Far Cry and Just Dance that was good and Wheelman? But is anyone a huge enough Ubisoft fan to be genuinely geeking at their Nintendo Direct equivalent anymore? I mean, Yasuke stonks are incredible, but it's Ubisoft. Microsoft announces a showcase and then in the run-up to it evaporates all their goodwill from space by firing some of the only devs people actually felt passionate and charitable towards under their control. And instead put a big focus on COD Blops, Bebop, and Rocksteady 6, this time the guns have ray tracing. Like, the people who play COD, the people who dump thousands into whaling the COD Fortnite thing, they already know they're buying COD. A showcase isn't going to affect anything. Did we learn nothing from Fish AI? I get that Hi-Fi Rush maybe didn't make the $90 bajillion a day your live service microtransaction endless trough does, but god, it was fun, it was vibrant, and it netted you almost all the public applause you threw in the trash when you canned Tango. And then you said you really needed more games that were just like the exact games Tango was making. Yeah, alright. And you know what? I'll admit, a lot of this is personal preference, and that's especially true of the State of Play and Silent Hill showcase last week. I adore the Silent Hill franchise, but the Silent Hill 2 remake feels so off to me, I find myself struggling to care. And the return to Silent Hill movie sounds neat, but where was Townfall and F, the Silent Hill games that I actually kinda care about that are announced? The Silent Hill transmission being focused on, yes, what Konami thinks is their next big thing, but what is divisive to the fan base at best, shall we say, and a movie which, might be okay, is an interesting step forward. And for the State of Play, well, I see a lot of people disliked it, but I don't think it was objectively terrible. I personally thought Astrobot looked incredibly fun, my fiance is a huge fan of Love Nikki, so Infinity Nikki was right up her alley, and of course Monster Hunter Wilds had the Monster Hunter fans losing their shit. However, by media's very nature, there are probably very few people who are fans simultaneously of Dynasty Warriors, Love Nikki, Monster Hunter, Astrobot, Silent Hill, and whatever the hell Concord is. So by making this kind of presentation with more specific games appealing to tighter niches, even if they're those games are relatively popular means you're probably leaving 80% of viewers only having one game, maybe two at best, in a 30, 40, 50, 60 plus minute presentation that they actually care about. Also, Concord took up 10 minutes. Concord. Really bet on the horse everyone's gonna love with Guardians of the Overwatch. Good job, Sony. This is even why Nintendo Directs can be perceived as mid too. If they're not showboating a bunch of their biggest hitters, people call it terrible, say they have no games. But the key difference that Nintendo has is that Mario as an IP crosses over far more drastically with more people. You will find plenty of people who have never picked up a Silent Hill or a Monster Hunter, but I would go as far as to say everyone interested in these presentations not just has played a Mario game, but has a favorite Mario game. And you can definitely extrapolate this out to a lesser extent to Zelda and beyond. I personally have only played a couple of Zelda games, but I love Twilight Princess. It's why your mum or your grandma, if you're Gen Z, call any video game console a Nintendo still. Nintendo can have an off year, but the reason Nintendo Directs command so much public hype, attention, and scrutiny is that at any time a Nintendo Direct can drop Pokemon, even though Pokemon has its own presents. Sometimes Directs get Pokemon news too, that's confusing. Or Mario Odyssey 2, Luigi's Mansion 94, Super Ultra Super Big Massive Huge Smash Brothers Deluxe 1944, now they have Skullgirls in it, or a good Star Fox game. Their catalogue they can pull from at any time has a proven stellar track record with one of the biggest demographics in the industry. And this is why I believe so many similar presentations fall flat. Why so many people say a majority of these presentations suck. First of all, yeah, a lot of them do. But second, a lot of them just don't have games that cross over into a lot of the same demos or the large demos that Nintendo's big IPs do. Final Fantasy is huge, but there is a generous chunk of people who either don't own PS5s or don't like RPGs. They're a less accessible genre. Those, I believe, are absolutely contributing factors to Rebirth, a surefire hit underperforming sales-wise. The hype was absolutely there, but it being a banner title for Sony on a console a lot of people don't have is just a hard conversion. Everyone and their dog has a Switch or knows someone with a Switch. You're not having to sell a game and a console to them. This is kind of why E3 excelled for a brief shining moment, because Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, etc. would bring the best of the best, the most popular or most innovative of their first-party and third-party publishers, and cram it into a much more strictly timed once-a-year event. I'm not here to ride E3 though. I'm here to say maybe everyone doesn't need their own Nintendo Direct. That's the video title. I'm so good at this YouTube thing. I think we're hitting intense saturation point. Devs and publishers are deliberately creating these events to be cultural landmarks. You can say, oh, you shouldn't have gotten your hopes up, but that's literally the point of these events. If they weren't to build hype and hope, they'd just shadow drop the video without setting a date to tune in for. Nintendo even does that, just randomly announcing a new Paper Mario in a tweet. But also Nintendo has gotten wise. Makes sense, they're the king, and knows to temper expectations. Confirming a June Direct in their tweet confirming the Switch 2, but making it very clear the Switch 2 will not be there. This again speaks to the expected reaction and community feel to these events. You are supposed to expect the showcase to shoot for the moon, which is why so many feel disappointed. These things are designed to generate attention, reactions, community feedback, and so if you haven't got something that is stellar for a majority of your audience, the rot's gonna start to set in. So what's the solution? Well, I'm just a guy being snarky on the internet, so I don't have all the answers, but I have some suggestions. First of all, stop making all of them live streams or premieres, and just make some of them regular videos. Just drop a state of play. Don't tease it for 2 days and make it a premiere. Ubisoft, go out of business, or like do the video thing too, whichever's easier. Then when you actually have some news, PlayStation, when you have news about your big exclusives and prominent third parties, then you drop the state of play or showcase. You go back to back, Silent Hill 2 Remake, Wolverine, Death Stranding 2, KH4, etc. with gaps in between, which will allow you to show off smaller projects. Even if you can't guarantee that level of games, what you basically need is banger, interesting indie or new IP, banger, 2 more unknowns, banger, and then big one more thing at the end. That's how every major presentation should be, because that's the kind of presentation that gets love from the fan base, that generates that recursive hype echo for all their properties they're hoping to get from these events. You are banking on word of mouth, on hype, because it pays dividends. The reason the Nintendo Direct works is that it's cheap and makes the fan base, the audience, do a huge chunk of the marketing. Word of mouth, it trumps a sponsored segment or a billboard ad every day of the week. But Karn, you might say, that kind of model isn't sustainable. To have 2 or 3 presentations a year, they need to make presentations that are more boring or have less exciting updates. Then don't have that many. Have 1 a year, or less. Once every 2 years if you don't have enough games you genuinely believe will be exciting to the widest possible scope of people. In the immortal words of Wooly Madden, about admittedly a completely different topic, shut the fuck up. Just keep things close to your chest until it's actually a good lineup to show, until games are at most 2 years from release. Just tell us you're making good stuff, make us excited for it, and release it. I thought Deathloop looked so exciting, but it got announced so long before it released and showed up at so many presentations and events that I literally cancelled my pre-order because I was sick of seeing it at these events. At least Kingdom Hearts games have multi-year gaps between their news drops that build insane hype. I'm not bitter, it's all good. And for the love of God, Square Enix, I'm talking to you directly here. Don't spoil nearly everything in the last 2 trailers before launch. What is the point? So that's my mission statement that will get everyone to boo me. We need less gaming showcases with more games that are more universally loved or more likely to gather new people, or indeed things that are so beloved by their more niche fandom that it will get a huge pop on social media, and I'm definitely not saying that as a biased Ace Attorney fan. You have the games, you have the eyes waiting to look at these games, you need to learn a little bloody showmanship. I'm tired of the biggest reveal for a direct showcase presentation being in the first third and the rest being much less interesting IPs. End on a bang. In the immortal words of Doctor Who, there's always a twist at the end. Also, no more Overwatch clones, please. But I've suckered you in by being mad at publishers. I also want to talk to you, the audience, because I think sometimes we have this predisposition to think everything sucks, just like that one song. I do also think that we need to be a little bit more charitable, that just because a presentation doesn't have everything we'd ever want ever, that doesn't make it mid. I do think that devs and publishers deliberately set these things out to build hype, but you've also got to be realistic with your hype, and maybe give new IPs a chance. Part of the reason why we're seeing so many Overwatch clones is probably because those are the games that are perceived to be selling the best. I am always going to put the fault at a company before I put it at a consumer, but maybe these things aren't so deep. And that's another message I want to say going forward. Just enjoy Summer Game Fest this year, just enjoy Gamer Christmas. While devs and publishers do need to make things more transparent and a little bit less hype culture for the sake of hype culture, we also, I think, need to not let ourselves get too carried away with what we expect of these presentations. I'm still seeing people think that the June Direct is somehow going to drop the Switch 2, which it just isn't. So everyone, just chill out, and Square Enix, stop spoiling stuff. Let me know what you think though. I know a lot of people seem fairly happy with any presentation, and honestly, good for you. I wish I loved all games as universally as you, and I do think another factor in me being so tired of these things is that they are not in a schedule that is time zone friendly to the UK. Summer Game Fest starts at 10 PM for me, and I'm a little baby who needs a sweep. Sound off in the comments. Remember, this is just an opinion piece, and maybe drop a like and a subscribe so I can keep ranting about video games instead of getting a real job. Thanks!